Throw the slack, you fucking moron!
Hey everybody, welcome back to yet another episode of Screen Share, a movie podcast about watching lesbian porn on the car speaker with your principal in the car, his car.
That was smooth. You got through that one really smooth.
Did I? Are you lying?
No, yeah, I'm lying.
Okay, well, welcome to Screen Share, everybody. The movie where I was going to say the movie where we watch podcasts, but this is a podcast where we watch movies. I'm Adam Cook.
And I'm Calder.
And so this month, we're continuing the month of best and worst movies. We just finished Space Jam: A New Legacy. What a good film, huh?
No, that was the point. It was bad.
It was really bad. And now we're into the good movies, so we're in the better half of the month.
Yeah.
So first, we're starting with my pick for a new possible number one. We'll see how things go. And that is Booksmart. A 2019 film directed by Olivia Wilde. It was her theatrical directorial debut.
Sure.
Or I guess feature directorial debut. And yeah, it's really good. Are you going to say anything?
I don't know. You're just going.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm going because you're not saying anything. You're just smiling at me.
Now he's arguing with me.
I'm not arguing. Now I am. But yeah, I really like this movie. I hadn't seen it. I remember when it was coming out, seeing trailers for it. And not
No, you've seen it though.
Well, no, I'm not. Well, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I hadn't seen it when it came out. I didn't see it for like 2-3 years after it came out. You and I watched it together, and I laughed maybe the hardest I have.
Sure.
In my entire life,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
And yeah, I really liked it. So then I bought it on Blu-ray, and we watched it again.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history.
I think. Did you buy the Lord of the Rings at the same time?
No, different times.
Oh,
same
place.
Same video store, different times.
Overpriced in there.
Is it?
I don't know. I feel like it is.
Maybe. I mean, it's a local video store. I'm fine.
Eh.
I'd rather spend like over $100 on a 4K box set of the extended editions of Lord of the Rings at a local video store than pay like what $20 less and get it on Amazon.
I'd rather get Dirty Grandpa for $6 right out of the bin.
At the convenience store bargain bin. Yeah.
I'd rather get Space Jam $6 out of the bin. You get a director's commentary with Bugs, Daffy, and sometimes the director.
Actors.
The director steps in sometimes too.
Yeah.
Wild commentary.
Yeah. We watched that. It was interesting.
Yeah, like this movie. I showed it to you because I think we'd watch Superbad first.
Yeah.
When we were living together. And I was like, oh, this is like kind of... Well, it basically is
I'd seen Superbad before we were living together.
Okay.
I think I think the first time I saw Superbad was with you, though. But it's when you were living somewhere else, and I visited you. I don't know if you want me to reveal where you were living.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
When you were living in the W.
Waterloo?
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't know. I don't know if you want me to say where you used to live. I don't care.
I don't live there anymore.
But yeah, when you lived in Waterloo, I visited you, and you were like, "We should watch Superbad," and then we did, and I was like, "Wow, that was really good." And
yeah,
you were like, "It's
and you were
stupid
like,
that you haven't seen it."
I thought it was because you said this thing where you were like, "I thought it was gonna be one of those movies where like I hadn't seen it and it's so hyped up, and then I just don't like it, or like I don't find it funny."
I usually just say that about movies that I like don't get around to.
You said that was Step Brothers too.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Step Brothers was like I've never talked to someone who was talking to me about Step Brothers where they haven't talked about it like it's the greatest masterpiece of all time. I like the movie. I think it's funny. I think it's a very good comedy, one of the best. But like it kind of turned me off. It turns me off from watching movies or shows when the only thing that's ever said about them is that, like, you have to, dude. How have you not yet? Because it's like, I don't know. That's why I stopped doing that with Star Wars. Because there was a period where I was like, who hasn't seen Star Wars? And then I realized some people.
And that Star Wars is like bad, and it's like bad to recommend it to people.
Didn't know there was going to be a double homicide in this podcast.
Because they won't like number one. They won't like number two. They won't like number three. At that point, I'm not sure if they'll like number 4 because they've watched 3 stinkers in a row. Like,
do you mean 1, 2, 3
episode
like
number.
prequels?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. If they haven't seen Star Wars, they're starting at number 4.
Why would they start at number 4?
'Cause that's the first
fourth
one released.
But it's not the start of the
Who
story.
gives a fuck? I watch Star Wars starting from episode 1 because I've seen them a million times. But if you're new watching Star Wars, start with the original movies.
That's wrong.
No, that's the you are okay. I'm not even joking.
That's not the story.
We're not getting into this, but that is one of the dumbest things that I think you've ever said, and we're not getting into it because I'll scream.
Hey, Google, how should I watch Star Wars? What order should I watch? Oh, they're numbered? Let's do that. Do you watch Ant-Man 3 before Ant-Man 2?
There's got to be another like example that would totally stump you and bone you over.
Do you watch Sicario Dave Soldado before Sicario?
I don't know. No, I've never seen either. Here's the question.
Yeah.
Would you watch... Actually, no, you don't. That's not going to be a good example. Just say what you were going to say. I don't care. You've made me angry, and the rest of the podcast.
So Olivia Wilde directed this movie.
Yeah. Just said that?
And it's loosely based on a children's book.
Yes.
And that the script was originally written in 2009 called Kate and Mona in the Jungle.
Yes.
But I think the thing is, like, it's basically changed since then.
Well,
they don't like attribute it to being an adaptation.
Yeah.
But it's like through this network of being worked on, it started there.
From what I read, there was like the children's book that you mentioned, Kate and Mona in the Jungle, and then it like went through a bunch of different people, a bunch of different revisions and stuff, and then eventually turned into what it is.
Yeah.
But something I learned, and maybe this is a stupid thing that like everybody knows, but I didn't. But I read that Kate and Mona in the Jungle by Amy Aitken appeared on the 2009 Blacklist, and I was like, what is the Blacklist? And it's a list of screenplays that are well regarded but have not been used.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that was a thing, but that's kind of cool.
You can like submit your screenplays to it and they'll give you a little rating. And if it's good, they'll recommend it. If it's bad, then they won't. Then they'll just take your money.
Yeah. Have you ever submitted to the Blacklist?
No, I haven't. I'm
Will you?
Scared. If I get something I think is good.
Nice.
I've only submitted one script for criticism. It was tepid. They said there was some good stuff, but
Okay.
you know, what are you gonna do? It was a first draft.
Hey,
I wanted to see how it worked.
Hey, you're not gonna be you're not gonna be the greatest writer of all time in your first try.
Well, I already am.
True.
I just
Sorry, I
need
didn't
other
consider
people to
that.
realize that the spelling isn't really that big of a hurdle to get over.
Mm.
Because I spell everything phonetically.
Nice. How do you spell the title of this movie?
Bukksmrte. Booksmart.
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 Why'd you add an E if you spell things phonetically?
Booksmart. 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 Booksmart.
Okay, I gotta stop. Yeah, I was just gonna see how long you were gonna do it, but you're doing it for a while.
I'll do it for an hour and a half.
So Booksmart, this kind of surprised me. It had a budget of $6 million. That didn't really surprise me. Pretty low, pretty cheap, which is pretty impressive for how good the movie looks. But it only grossed $25 million.
Yes. So,
but there is one quick reason. It did also release alongside Aladdin, like the live action Aladdin, which although people say isn't like great or anything, was big.
I don't think that's the reason. Because this is an R-rated comedy.
That's true.
With female leads. Like, maybe people who were going to see Aladdin went to that, but that's like a family movie. Yeah. I think the reason is that they just kind of like released it, and then it didn't really do that well in the first weekend. It made like $6 million in its first weekend. And then if the box office isn't very good in the first weekend, or something where it's like enough people go to see it to recommend it, then it's just not really going to catch on.
Yeah.
Especially like in 2019. And they positioned it as sort of being like Lady Bird and like maybe not expecting that box office, but being like Lady Bird, R-rated, about a female girl in high school.
A female girl?
A female girl in high school, about a girl in high school. Also has one of the people from Booksmart in it.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll do well. Maybe it'll catch on and get that same audience. And I also just don't remember it being advertised.
Yeah.
Because I guess Aladdin took up a lot of that space in the advertising.
Yeah, most of what I heard about it was from people saying it was good, not necessarily promotional material.
But almost as soon as it went onto like VOD, people started watching me like, "Whoa, what the fuck? This is really good." I watched it the first time on Netflix.
Yeah. Samesies.
Samesies.
High five. Yeah.
He did that to himself. Don't let him deceive you. He's a liar.
What?
You're a liar. I didn't high five you.
Yeah, you did. You're sitting right beside me.
I'm not sitting beside you, Adam.
It also released alongside Brightburn. Do you remember that movie?
The one with like the bad Superman kid?
Where it was like, what if Superman
and
was
it's got,
a bad kid?
Roy from The Office in it?
Maybe.
I think it does. Yeah, that movie's probably going to do better than it because it's like a horror movie.
Sure.
So I think
I don't know if it did better or not.
I don't know.
But yeah, so sorry. Oh,
we both said
But so Beanie Feldstein and Caitlin Dever are the two leads of this movie. They play Molly and Amy respectively, and it's basically about them realizing they kind of did nothing but school during their time at school.
Mm-hmm.
And tomorrow is graduation, and they gotta fit in some fun before they go.
Yeah.
Which is such a simple pitch.
Mm-hmm.
But man, oh man, what a good time.
Okay.
I think, can I just gush about the movie a little bit? So, like, I like Superbad. It's very Superbad-like, so we'll probably bring up Superbad a couple times. Because both of the movies are high school kids, like, near the, like right before summer break, essentially.
Right before they graduate.
Yeah, and they kind of go on this, like, adventure to try and have fun.
In one crazy night.
They do drugs at some point. But, like, they're also very different. Especially watching a second time, I was kind of, like, marking the differences between Superbad and Booksmart. And although there is, like, a friendship aspect in Superbad that's really strong, it's, like, a lot different in this movie. It feels so much more real in this movie. Not that it doesn't feel real in Superbad at all. Mm-hmm. But, like, I believe that they're best friends who spend almost every day together immediately. Like, within the first 5 minutes of the movie, I'm like, I know who these people are.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I just feel like it's, like, a really wholesome movie as well. Like, there's a lot of sweet moments. People tell each other how they feel about each other pretty frequently in the movie. There's honesty. There's emotions. And I feel like a lot of movies, especially comedies, especially R-rated comedies, don't do that, at least not in a way that feels as genuine as it does in this. Like, a lot of the time it's just like, oh, there's a scene where someone's like, I'm sorry that I wasn't putting your feelings as a priority, or something. And then it's just like, I don't really, okay, cool, this is the moment of the movie, whatever. But this, like, I don't know. It's just a very relatable movie. I think they do it really well, and I think the cast kills it. I don't think there's a single bad character in the movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really like it. And it's kind of like a more modern Superbad. So I think that might have to do a little bit with it as well, because it feels a little more relatable.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more relatable for us, especially. Whereas, like, I don't know, Superbad came out when we were like 8. It's sort of a generation before us.
And, like, I was partying and doing drugs then, but...
Sure, man. But this is, like, a little closer to our experience.
Yeah.
Even, like, just, like, the technology, the situations that they find themselves in.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the archetypes are a little closer to, like... They're obviously exaggerated. I think for the most part. But they feel more real. Like, Nick feels like more of a real person than some other like jock love interest thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing in Superbad is like, I feel like the focus is so much on Evan and Seth
Yeah.
that like there isn't a lot of characterization for anyone else besides maybe like McLovin and the cops.
Yeah.
Like for the most part, it's just kind of them. In this movie, I feel like there's like probably like 5 to 8 other characters that are characterized really well.
Yeah.
But they don't steal the show away from the 2 leads.
No.
They kind of just they build their own character by being like an assist to the story of the main 2 characters, and I think it's done really well.
I think the thing that, like, I think that's just a bit of a difference in how high schools sort of feel now.
Yeah.
At least in my experience when I was in high school, where it's like everyone kind of gets along with each other. Like some people might have problems with each other, but
Like there's drama, but nobody's like horrible to each other.
yeah, and there's not these like super rigid cliques like there kind of was in Superbad, and from what I've gathered in that era of high school, where it's like you kind of only hung out with like 3 guys.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like when we were going to school, everyone was kind of like mixed and mingled, even if you weren't like...
Yeah. Like there were friend groups, but like most people were at least a little bit floaters.
Yeah.
Like kind of...
So like that, this movie captures that well, and then it gives them a reasonable chance to like have them float in and out of the stories of Molly and Amy. Because like, oh yeah, like they'd talk to a theater kid, they'd talk to Nick. Like there's a reason for them to talk to Nick. Whereas like there's not really a reason, unless to get bullied, that Evan or Seth would talk to those jock guys.
Exactly.
And I love that there's like there's a little bit of like rudeness, and like people are sort of rude about each other. Like Molly's rude about AAA. Or Annabelle.
Yeah.
But there's no like bullying in the movie, which I kind of like, because not that bullying
the
is
only bullying scene is when
extinct.
Molly's in the bathroom stall, but like it's not known bullying. It's not like they're saying these things to her. They don't know she's there. It's still rude. It's still bullying. But like then she comes out and they like feel bad until she's like really cocky, and then they're like, okay, we kind of gotta... Yeah.
Because that feels just more like true to what our experience was. Like not everyone's super fucking kind to each other, and like in a lot of high schools I'm sure that people are like physically bullying each other, but like there wasn't like people beating each other up and like spitting on each other like in Superbad.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing, like especially at the party and at the scenes at school, there's not like a scene like, oh, there's the jocks and it's them beating up. Like the only time someone's called a nerd is at the end of the movie. I forget the character's name, but where the girl that Amy hooks up with at the party
like calls her a nerd.
Yeah, calls her a nerd, but it was like in like a friendly, flirtatious way. But nobody's like, you fucking nerd.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, oh, like that guy's got his own thing going on.
Yeah,
that's who he is.
And honestly, I think that like aspect of the film can be summed up pretty well by like when Amy and Molly show up at the party, like the cool kid party.
They're
everybody's like, yo, look who's here.
Yeah,
because everyone's just like that really struck me, is that everybody's kind of just really honest in the movie about like how they feel
about
like
other people.
Yeah, like when Molly's walking down the street after the party gets raided by cops, and then Annabelle picks her up, and they talk. It's like they don't like each other, but Annabelle's kind of just like, I mean, why? You're walking on the street, why would I not pick you up? Then they get in and she's like, I don't like it when people call me these names. And it's like, then I won't call you these names. Yeah. And it's like, can we just like start with a clean slate at Yale? And then it's like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Annabelle. And it's like, don't call me that now. That's weird. Stop. But like, I don't know. Everybody just seems very genuine in the movie, which I think makes the movie feel very genuine. And yeah.
It's also just a great looking movie.
Oh, it looks great.
Which I feel like Olivia Wilde's stock has taken a hit since like
Don't Worry, Darling.
Yeah. I watched it. It's like kind of stupid, but it's not like the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
Like, it's dumb. I think there were a lot of problems behind the scenes.
Yeah.
There's some really interesting visual ideas in that movie as well. There's some really interesting visual ideas in this movie too.
Yeah.
Like, even when they're outside the pizza place and they're like, the phone's dying and like they just got out of the car, where it's got like the red neon and the green neon on both sides. That just like looks cool.
Yeah. A lot of the lighting and a lot of it is very nice, especially at like the party when they do like the dream dance sequence. When they follow like Amy underwater in the pool. I love that whole sequence.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't like a lot of movies have under the water sequences and like even in pools. But like there was something about
Those very Boogie Nights.
a little bit. I very loosely watched Boogie Nights with you, so I don't know enough to like actually compare. But I just like that like you could see all these people's legs while she was underwater. She like comes up for air at a reasonable time, goes back down, and like everything's well lit, but everything's also foggy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought there's so many things that the movie does that is just like
I'm
good
just looking
enough.
something
No,
up.
it's okay.
Okay.
I thought you were checking your laptop thinking that your
No.
audio wasn't recording. We'd have to start over or something. But yeah, I don't know. I think especially with a budget of $6 million, it looks way better than it probably should. But yeah,
Yeah.
I just don't really know what the movie's weak points are, which I'm sure we can get to later. But
yeah, I think it's just like it's a really fun movie,
mm-hmm.
and I enjoy it, but I feel like there's nothing. If we're talking number one, and we don't have to start this debate now. If we're talking number one, there's nothing like profound about the movie.
Interesting.
Like in a similar way to Harry Potter, where there's like, it's fun and enjoyable, but there's nothing where it's like, whoa, like there's like that profound thing. And not that every movie has to have that, but if we're talking number ones,
Sure.
I feel like there's got to be that as well.
Sure, we'll talk about that.
I think another thing that gives the visual style to it is I looked it up and they used digital, or not digital. Well, I think they filmed it on digital, but then used vintage lenses.
Okay.
So it would have like those light lens flares, like in the dance scene. There's a lot of just like more tactile things where like we talked about with Space Jam 2 and Superbad's kind of shot like this as well, where it's just like pretty static, pretty like normal, pretty clean.
I do feel like it's worth stating that Superbad looks leagues better than Space Jam: A New Legacy. Yeah. It's just worth stating.
But they're both like static,
yeah,
sort of clean. This movie is not very static at all. The camera's moving a lot. It's almost always like handheld. There are very few shots where it's just like on a tripod.
There's also a lot of close-ups.
Yeah.
But then also there's like a decent amount of like wide shots, especially at like the party and like the school. There's just a lot of, but at the school I noticed it would go wide and then it would like really go tight shot whenever there was like stressful things happening. Like it was wide when the one character's like riding on a skateboard with a fire extinguisher down the hall. But then like once people start throwing like confetti and condom water balloons, then everything's tight, everything's chaotic, everything's stressful and claustrophobic.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it does a really good job of making you feel like the main characters are feeling.
Yeah.
Like even with the argument, one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie, when they start arguing at the party, the way that like music kind of falls back.
And it basically just goes silent.
Yeah, it goes silent. It's just them arguing. It's a close up of them. Everyone in the background is blurred. But like as it goes actually silent, and you just see them yelling, but you don't know what they're saying. Aside from Molly saying "fuck you," which is pretty obvious to read what she's saying. I don't know. I just love how that scene was done because it just feels like they're probably kind of just like tunnel vision screaming about what they're screaming about, they're probably tuning everything out as well. It makes sense that they'd tune everything out for us as well.
Yeah, and if you watch in the back, like the extras slowly turn to look at them too.
So they slowly turn and start listening, and then they slowly start taking out their phones and filming it.
To sort of like tie up the point I was making, I think Olivia Wilde is a very good director. I think Don't Worry Darling was just like strange and like had a lot of problems. But she's got a really great visual style. So I'm excited for whatever her next movie is.
Yeah.
And hopefully she gets a more calm cast, because it seemed like there was a lot of problems there.
Yeah, for Don't Worry Darling.
And maybe...
So weird, because we watched like a couple of the bonus features on the Blu-ray. And like there was a big emphasis on all of the cast being like a specific type of person who brings more to each of the characters than just like the character description, and how all of them got along so well.
Yeah.
And then her next movie, it's just chaos.
Well, because they're like, no one in this movie is like a movie star.
Yeah.
Really. And in that movie, you've got like Harry Styles, and then there's the thing with her relationship with Harry Styles. Then there's Florence Pugh, who's like a movie star in some ways. You've got Chris Pine. Olivia's also acting in that movie.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of shit going on. And I think it's just like a bad mix. It seems with most directors easier to like wrangle a group of kind of unknown people. Like Beanie Feldstein had been in some stuff, and Caitlin Dever had been in some stuff. And then there's like Jason Sudeikis and whatever, all the cameos too.
But like Jason Sudeikis and a bunch of kids basically is easier to manage than a bunch of people.
Than
who
Florence
think
Pugh, Harry Styles, Chris Pine, whatever. Not saying that they're like difficult people, but it's just like you're also working with adults who aren't like, who are doing this as a job, and a lot of these kids are like, oh, I get to be in a movie.
Yeah.
Because
and it's also established adults. Like all of those people have like established their careers,
and they have a star persona that they need to think about.
Yeah.
And
I'm not saying that those people are egotistical. I don't know them, but like it would be a lie to say that like they don't have like a larger ego or image or persona to uphold compared to most of the cast of Booksmart.
And then there's the thing with Shia LaBeouf also in that, where it's like, that's weird.
Yeah, I don't.
So
even
I think
know
it was
much
just kind of
about
like fucked from the start.
Yeah. So Olivia Wilde should get another chance, obviously.
And she will.
I'm sure she will. She probably already currently is, but
I couldn't find whatever her next thing is. But I'm sure it's just like not announced or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I really love the cast. Let's get into the cast.
Yeah.
I think my favorite person, even from like stuff after this, who came out of this movie, is Mason Gooding, who's Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son, apparently. And also plays Nick in this movie. He's in the new Scream movies.
Okay.
He's going to be in a Kyle Mooney directed movie.
Nice. Excited.
I like him a lot. He's got like I think he plays that character really well, like a charming jock who's like not stupid, but like is just kind of like a fun guy.
Well, yeah, I feel like I've met guys like him. Like I watch a lot of these high school movies, and it's like, here's the jock, and I'm like, I've never met someone like that,
except for me.
Breathe louder, probably.
That's just a normal breathe for me. Dude,
Calder actually does that every time I'm talking. I just have to mute his audio.
Yeah, that's just how I breathe.
But like with Nick, the character of Nick, I feel like I've met guys like that before. Where it's like they're not like assholes. They just like have a little bit of that cocky edge.
They just like to have fun.
Yeah, but he's not like a bad guy. I do think it's a little questionable because like he was flirting with Molly at the party, like pretty clearly, and then like says like makes a big point about her not moving from where she is, and then like 5 minutes later is seen making out with some other girl, and then it's like
with Ryan,
who is Amy's love interest. But it's just like, what are you doing, man?
I think the one thing this movie doesn't really communicate well is like intoxication. because
that's fair.
I think the assumption is everyone's kind of intoxicated. That's why the fight's so big. That's why, like, I guess they can kind of get over it pretty easily the next day. Because that's another thing that I wonder about is, like, they're, like, fucking screaming fuck you at each other in a party. And then the next day she's like, well.
I think that, like, because I didn't even consider the intoxication thing, but, like, I still believe the fight and the makeup the next day. Mostly because we spend the whole movie learning about their relationship and kind of growing with them at the same time. And then it feels like it kind of all bubbles up. And it's like Amy was pushing Molly, or Molly was pushing Amy to go to the party. And Amy's like, why? And then she finds out that Molly likes Nick. So then Amy pushes Molly to go to the party. From Molly's perspective, things are going great with Nick. And then Amy's all of a sudden like, we've got to go. She uses her Malala, which if you haven't seen the movie, I hope that you have. But like, if you haven't seen the movie, they say Malala and they get one use of Malala a year. And it basically means the other person has to fully support whatever the other person is doing, regardless of what the context is. Questionable whether you can Malala someone's Malala.
Interesting.
Maybe we can discuss that. But
what, like you're saying Amy Malala's beanie or whatever, Molly's Malala?
Yeah, because Molly's Malala was like
to go to the party.
The party. Well, I guess then they've gone to the party.
They're at the
Amy's
party.
Malala was like to leave now.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's fine then.
Yeah, I think so.
But like, I mean, like, if Molly was like, Malala, you have to come to this party, Amy can't be like, Malala, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so, like, when they start fighting, like, I understand Molly being upset because she's like, what are you doing? We, like, just got here. Things are going great for me. Can you explain why? Like, why do you want to leave? But Amy doesn't want to hurt Molly by being like, this guy that you're into was making out with the girl that I'm into.
Yeah.
So that's why she doesn't say anything, but then that makes Molly blow up, which makes Amy blow up, which makes them blow up. And it just kind of sends them in different directions, but I think it sends them in directions that they both needed to go. Like, Amy hooks up with the one girl in the bathroom, and I think that's a very big confidence. Obviously, things go weird because she shoves her finger in her bubble and then pukes. But like,
who doesn't do that, though?
Who doesn't do that? I do that every Tuesday.
To yourself.
Yeah. But like,
that's where
she
your
kind
gag
of
reflex
needed
is.
that. She kind of needed that experience to kind of come out of her shell, because she, especially at the beginning of the movie, but kind of for the whole movie, she's like very insecure and like doesn't really have the confidence to be who she knows she is.
Yeah.
And then Molly walks home. She does eventually actually see Nick and Ryan kissing. And I think that's her kind of having a realization moment of, oh, I now understand Amy's behavior. And I think, honestly, at that point, she, like, decides, like, she's going to go full forgiveness and, like,
I mean more from
apology.
Amy's end, though. Because Molly goes pretty fucking hardcore. And then Amy, like, says some, like, they're yelling about how each other's a bad friend.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's never, like, really tied up. They're kind of like, she says, like, oh, I'm sorry. When they're at the prison, I guess. She's like, yeah, I'm sorry about that, and like whatever. But I feel like that could have been like a little more like, I feel like it wasn't quite enough for me.
Interesting. See, for me, I think it was just because it felt like all that was really needed was for Molly to acknowledge and accept that she's a very controlling person and puts herself before others, even her best friend, pretty constantly. And I think Amy just needed to realize that, like, she needs to be more trusting in Molly, because she didn't, like, tell Molly that she's going to be gone in Africa for not just the summer, but the whole year. And I think Amy just needed to also realize that, like, how much Molly means, or how much she means to Molly, not just how much Molly means to her. Anyway, I I get what you're saying. I don't feel the same way. Just like about it not being tied up well.
So like, I guess here's to draw the parallel to Superbad.
Sure.
The reason that they make up is because Seth saves Evan from a party and like runs down the street cradling him in his arms. And Evan's like, whoa, man, you saved me from the party. He's like, I can't believe you did that. Like, that's the best thing anyone's ever done to me. And they're like fully intoxicated in that moment. And you can tell because they're playing it up.
Yeah.
So then it's more believable that like they've had a fight, but then Seth does this thing when he's intoxicated and it's like, okay, this is his true show of friendship. They seem like they're good friends the whole time, but there's never that gesture that Molly gives to Amy because she gets her out of jail, but like she has information on something like, I don't know, that doesn't feel as like big or concrete to me of her apologizing and Amy being like, Molly might actually change from now on and like realize what she kind of does, where she bulldozes and things like that. And that's the only thing where it's like, I literally just needed like maybe like a half a line more, or like maybe some sort of like fight where Molly's like sacrificing something that she would do, or like doing something extra aside from being like,
well, I think that's
we
what
know
the
where the
prison
strangler
thing
is.
Well, it wasn't we know where the strangler is. It's like either we're getting you out or I'm staying here.
I know, but she knows she's not staying there because she knows where the strangler is.
Yeah. But like, I feel like but she doesn't know that that's going to get Amy out of jail. We know where a murder suspect is, and this girl got arrested for like booping a cop's hat in the deleted scene. Yeah. I feel like they can kind of presume like, but I mean like I mean more like you saying that Molly doesn't sacrifice anything, but I feel like her whole character is that everything is building up to graduation. And like, especially when we see Jared read part of her planned speech.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is very clearly like a moment for her, but she's willing to either miss it completely to hang out with Amy in jail, or to be like egregiously late, which at the beginning of the movie she would not even consider, certainly not.
Yeah.
But she's like compromising that because she cares more about Amy than she does about these like accolades and milestones. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I guess it's just like,
you just wanted like one more thing.
Yeah, and like she still gets it all. I feel like there's something where she needs to like give up something to make that journey be fully complete, like show that sort of sacrifice, because she misses a bit of graduation, and then she comes to she gets to graduation like 3 minutes after the other guys started the speech. So like she's not really missing that much, and then she's cheered on like she's a superhero when she comes in, which is cool and is probably what would happen. But I just like, I don't know, maybe if she like couldn't get her gown or something and she like sacrifices showing up in her gown, I'd be like, oh wow, she's really like, she
like
had
she
this
just showed
image,
up in her pajamas,
or like something like that, because she had this image of like, I'm gonna graduate, it's gonna be perfect, I'll be in my gown with my valedictorian scarf, but she can't get the gown
because they both show up in their gowns,
yeah,
even Amy, who was just in prison,
which I don't know how that's happened.
I mean, I'm sure Molly probably just brought Amy's gown or something, but like there's probably some like off-screen stuff that happens regardless. But I think a fun way to like do what you're saying and also like keep it the same is if like Amy was wearing like some sort of prison garb because she was just in prison. Okay. So then Molly also wears prison garb so that Amy's not the only one wearing prison garb at a graduation or something.
Yeah. I just think there needs to be like some sort of sacrifice. And I'm kind of harping on it a little too much. Sure. And I really like the movie and I feel like I'm being very negative.
Okay.
But like that's just my one problem with it. Is like they have this huge fight. I don't feel like it's fully resolved, and I don't feel like Molly gives up enough for it to like move on. We're 41 minutes in.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were that far in.
Yeah, me neither. Let's just talk about the movie for a bit. We'll get it. We kind of like mentioned the idea of ranking and then kind of like got into that.
Yeah.
But let's just talk about the movie itself. So it starts off with Molly basically like meditating, I think.
Yeah.
And she's basically hearing a voice in her head being like, you're better than all these fucking people.
Yeah. Affirmations of success.
Yeah. And then Amy picks her up in like some shitty...
It's a Volvo station wagon.
Yeah, which is like...
Shitty.
Which
Volvo,
she then...
Volvo will last you the
gives
rest
to
of your
Molly at the
life.
end.
Which I'm not sure how that's working. Does she own that car?
I don't know. You can probably like change ownership. It's probably whatever.
Elizabeth Warren 2020.
Yeah, they have an Elizabeth Warren 2020
Hot flashes or
sticker.
What did it say? Hot flashes or something.
Something like that.
I thought that one was funny.
But yeah, then they go to school and they're like talking to the principal about like
Student president stuff.
Yeah, student president like shifting over like power
Duties
to
and
the
like
next
responsibility
year,
and stuff. Yeah.
and like having to talk to Nick, the vice president, about like budgeting, and the principal's like, "Go home."
Yeah.
Like basically, we're just like, why do you care at all? And it all kind of, and like a little bit, they meet Miss Fine, who's their favorite teacher, who's like the cool teacher.
Yeah.
But like it all kind of culminates with Molly being in the bathroom stall and hearing all of the people she kind of looks down on talking about her.
What are their names? Nico. I know the actors' names.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't.
The guy from he's in the most recent Stranger Things season.
His name's like Quagmire or something.
Yeah.
He's got a weird name. And then Nico Haraga.
Yeah.
Haraga. I'm horrible with fucking names, huh?
It's fine. It's fine. They're like talking about Molly and like
Haraja.
they're kind of just shitting on her. And then she comes out and they're like, "Oh," and they're awkward.
Like, she does this whole speech and it's like, "I'm going to Yale."
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I may not be very fuckable and have a bad personality, but at least I'll do something with my life. And they're all like, "Oh, we're all actually going to similar, if not the same university as you."
Except that one guy's going to Google.
Yeah.
It's 6 figures, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, it's just like low 6 figures,
Not
but
Apple.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, well, geez. And then that's kind of Molly's realization of like, man, did I waste high school? Because
she may have.
And she may have. But she hasn't done anything besides school so that she could get into these schools.
Mm-hmm.
And all these other people she thought were stupid were having fun and still also got into those schools.
Yeah.
And then she gets hit in the face with a water balloon condom.
So sick. There's this thing I heard about in schools where a lot of the like high achieving girls will put in more work than like they need to get whatever grade. And then a lot of the like high achieving guys know exactly, and I guess in the case of the movie also like AAA and stuff. So like other high achieving students can
Let's call her Annabelle.
Sure. Can like know how much work they need to do to get like an A or something.
Yeah.
So like Molly is kind of on the end of where she's like doing as much as possible, like she can get a A plus.
She's like, I need a 99.9% in everything. Yeah.
Where the other students are like, I know how to get a 95, so I'm gonna do that, and then I'm just gonna like really prep for the SATs.
Yeah.
Which is probably the most reasonable way to go through high school, because then you can also have a life.
Yeah.
But
I did neither.
It kind of shows this dynamic. I'll keep it. We'll leave that. It shows a like dynamic of difference between like. I'm being very like black and white, but like how high achieving girls go through school and how high achieving guys go through school, where they like the guys just kind of like get through it because they kind of know how to get through it, and the girls are like, I'm doing the best I can for everything, no matter if I hate the class or not.
I definitely know some boys who are like, gotta go all out.
Yeah.
Also known girls like that. And I've known, like, I think it varies.
It's not a strict gender binary, but it's like average, or not average, but like generally in female students, it's like the high achieving ones are going for like 110.
Well, because they probably see it as like,
high-achieving
if I'm going
guys
for
are
95, I may as well go for 99.
Yeah. Whereas like some people are like, if I can get a 95, that's sick.
Well, yeah, there's some people who are like, all right, I've maintained like an 85 average, and the last thing's worth 15%. I just won't do it.
Yeah, or they're like, I can get a 24 on this next test and
Yeah.
still keep my average. So we're going to study a little bit, but I'm also going to do shit with my life.
Yeah. But yeah, and that's kind of like what they talk about and realize when they're sitting on the picnic table. I like how we don't really get any other context for it, but Amy's like, sit down, we'll eat some cake, we'll look through the memory box. And we don't really get to see the memory box. I kind of wish it popped up at the end or something. But
that would have been cool.
But I also kind of like being like, what is in there?
It's like the briefcase in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, because I was thinking about it and I was like, what's in there? Is it like little trinkets from the years? And I was like, honestly, it's probably just like their ribbon they got for winning like debate club or something.
Yeah, it's probably like a couple pictures, a couple awards, and then like a nickel.
Yeah,
that they found.
By the way, underrated line in the movie is when Molly is like arguing with George in the classroom. George is the one that like sings a song, like
I love him. He's great in this movie.
He's one of the best characters, I think. He's just like never below an 8 out of 10. Like
his name, the actor's name is Noah Galvin.
I was thinking, like, especially watching some behind the scenes stuff with him, I'm like, I want to see him in more things.
Yeah.
But Molly and him are arguing in the classroom, and she says something like, why would you join theater club if you could join debate club? Or something like that. And then, like, Amy does, like, a low high five to Molly, and I'm like, is that a burn?
Man, sometimes. I don't know.
Like, is being in debate club instead of theater club really a burn? But yeah, just since we're on the character of George, like, the movie is kind of Molly and Amy jumping between parties that they didn't want to go to.
Yeah.
Because I like how they call on Jared first. They're like, yeah, can you bring us to Nick's party? And he brings them to his boat party.
It's a good party.
Which there's no one at. Except for, like, there's, like, a bunch of, like, drink and snack stations. And there's people behind all of them. But there's no one on the dance floor. There's no one attending.
The help's there.
Yeah. But then they go to... They then finally get an address because no one's responding to their text because they don't really have any friends, basically. And finally someone sends them an address, but it's the wrong address to the drama kids, like, murder mystery party.
Yeah.
And George is just, like, unhinged at that party. Just, like,
so good.
So controlling, so angry. Says, like, fuck you to his little sister while his parents are there.
The little sister's giving him the finger.
Yeah.
And then he's giving them their characters. You're like, you'll be the optometrist. Or no, you're going to be the old, wrinkly, single, barren optometrist.
She's like, why barren? And then reads it, it's like, this just says optometrist. Yeah, I absolutely love him. And then at the graduation, he's also great. Like, like when Jared goes on and he's like, I'm going to be reading Molly's speech. Or I don't think he even says that at the mic. He just says that to the principal, but then he gets up and goes, I'm Molly Stephenson. I don't know what her last name is.
Davidson.
Davidson. I'm Molly Davidson, and I am a proud, independent woman. And he's just like, yes, you are. I just love that.
Yeah.
Anyway, the character, honestly, the cast might be the best part of the movie.
I think it is. And I like everyone in this cast.
Yeah.
Do you want to get to some questions?
Sure.
Okay. What character would you be in a murder mystery at George's house?
Which Gigi was the mayor, but she was wearing like some like bridal gown.
Yeah, it's the mayor's gown.
And then like told them that they took ayahuasca from the strawberries she fed them, and they go nuts. Anyway,
Billie Lourd is really great in this movie.
Oh yeah,
as Gigi. Apparently her part was supposed to be a lot shorter, and then they liked what she was doing so much that they made it bigger.
She kind of works as like not the narrator of the story, but she kind of works as like the overseer.
Yeah.
Because she just somehow appears at every single one of these parties.
Yeah.
And is kind of like, she kind of like acts as a push for the main two characters to like do what they want to do anyway, or what they don't want to do but need to do. Like
jump off the boat.
Yeah, like jump off
into
the
that
boat.
dirty water.
Yeah. And then like she's also the one that like pushes for the realization that Molly likes Nick, which then makes Amy change her tune and become really gung-ho for going to this party.
How could you not like Nick?
But character at the murder mystery, I don't know.
Actually, you do me. I'll do you.
Okay, I'll do you. My gut instinct is like the coal miner.
Oh, interesting. I thought you were going to do something very rude and insulting.
No, I don't know. Just like the guy who's like,
Just
I
like
don't know, I was working in the mines the whole time the murder happened.
Yeah, but then I killed them.
But then you killed them with a pickaxe.
You're probably like the infertile
Nice.
milkman.
I'm okay
So
with
you
that.
make love to a lot of the women in the town, but they never have babies because you're infertile.
Interesting.
And you also kill them.
Oh, interesting. Wait, we're both the murderer?
Yeah, on any given day.
Sure.
Yeah, you got to split the responsibilities up.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah, that makes sense for you.
Yeah.
Do you regret being a loser in high school?
I loved high school, actually. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, we had some good times.
Yeah, there were good times to be had, especially like 11th, 12th grade.
Yeah.
Just feeling like, I don't know, I just feel like that was a period where I'm like, I had some sense of independence.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously not to the level of like moving out and living on your own, paying your own bills and shit. But like, I don't know. I had an independent mind, but I still had the structure of like
Seeing your friends every day.
seeing my friends every day and having a place to be and like doing something. And like, I don't know. I think it just like that like 2-year span is like the golden hour of my life. Not like, okay, that sounds like really sad. Like I've peaked in high school. I mean, like I'm never gonna get a time that's like
where you have that
the end
much
of high
freedom and
school.
like that little to do.
Yeah, where like I had some disposable income, but not many like things to pay for.
Yeah.
I like had a lot of reasons and time to hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
But not a lot of things like.
No, I get what
preventing
you
me from doing
mean.
that. Yeah. I don't think I peaked in high school. But
You're still peaking.
is like a special time. Like when Molly's giving her speech, because she kind of throws out her written speech and kind of just does her own thing. Says like, I didn't see you guys before. I see you now. I wish that I spent more time with you. But like the main thing that I like that she said is she's like, this time is over. Like this specific time is over.
Mm-hmm.
And it was what it was. It was perfect. We enjoyed it. But like, what's next? Like, time for the next thing.
Yeah.
Which is kind of how I felt in high school too. Where it was like, I don't think I won't realize it until many years from now. But like, this isn't happening again.
Yeah.
So, do I regret being a loser in high school? No.
Me neither. Who is a standout cast member
Actually,
for you?
I'm just gonna say this. I've told you this before, but I want to say it publicly.
All right.
I genuinely have the opinion that at least at the end of grade 12, you were the most like, maybe not the most popular kid in the school, but the most liked. That's my, and I know that
I've just got something about me, man.
yeah.
You know.
I think it's that you're likable and funny
Standout cast member.
and nice.
Standout cast member.
Well, sometimes, not to me.
Thank you. I was hanging out with you though, so.
That's true.
Ooh.
People would see you and me walk up to them and they'd go, "Oh my goodness, in comparison, Calder, I love you."
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was like, gotta hang out with Adam so people think I'm cool.
Yeah.
That's rude. You're nicer to me than I am to you.
That's not. Anyway,
standout cast member.
I think George. The guy who plays George. You said his name, but I forget it.
Noah Galvin.
Yeah.
I think Mason Gooding, Nick, I like him.
Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously the two leads are great.
Yeah.
I the whole movie I was like trying to decide who's my favorite between them, and I just like both of them.
I feel like Beanie, like, I guess she's a little older. Like, she's older than you think she is, which isn't a bad thing. But, like, she went from this to kind of doing more mature, in air quotes, stuff.
Okay.
Like, she went on to play, like, Monica Lewinsky and some stuff. She did some more theater. But she was in this and Lady Bird pretty close together, 2 years apart. And then I haven't really, like, seen her in something like this recently.
Yeah.
So I hope she does something like this again. Where it's, like, not a high school movie, but, like, a comedy where she can...
Well... And we'll talk about Waves a bit later when we talk about ranking. But, like, this is very similar to Waves, where I see it and I'm like, I love all of these actors.
What are they doing?
Where are they?
Yeah.
Which, like, we talked a lot in that episode about, like, people want to, like, be the ones to, like, kind of find these actors, not really be the ones to, like... I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's oversaturation. Maybe there's too many actors. I don't know what it is. But, like, everybody in this movie deserves to be doing more things, I think. At least if you're basing it off their performance in this movie.
And I think they're kind of starting to, because this was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But there was COVID in between that.
That's true. I guess there hasn't really
so
been
it's
much
like,
chance. But.
You're not wrong, but...
All I'm saying is
hopefully
if I'm casting a movie, I'm getting this cast.
The entire thing?
Yeah. And I'm calling it Smart Book. And it's about a tech company that makes a book that connects to your Bluetooth.
Any other high school movies you like?
Superbad's good, obviously.
I've got some other options here.
Okay, yeah, say them.
We've got Superbad, Lady Bird, Brick, Edge of 17, The Duff, and then there's like the kind of older ones, Mean Girls and Clueless. And then there's also like Dazed and Confused, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, The Breakfast Club, those kind of high school movies as well. Any ones that you like? Any ones you'd recommend? Any ones you think are like super sexy?
Teen Beach Movie.
You like that one?
No, it's just no.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
That's got a...
Ross Lynch.
Yeah. Ooh.
It's fine.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's one that I'm missing, but I guess Superbad's just like the easy go-to.
See if it's on your shelf here.
I haven't seen Edge of 17 yet.
I like Edge of 17. I also like The Duff, but not a lot of people like The Duff.
What does it stand for again?
Designated Ugly Fat Friend.
I was going to literally reference that as me being that to you when we were joking about us walking up to people together.
Why didn't you?
Because I forgot the thing.
Oh, okay.
I was just going to say I'm your designated fat friend. But then
yeah,
doesn't really.
You forgot the ugly in there.
I forgot to say that I'm an...
I'm being mean. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
What's your favorite scene? Is it the fight scene?
The fight scene's good. I'd hesitate to say it's my favorite because it's also sad.
Mm-hmm.
I also love when they say goodbye at the end because it's like very, very emotional and also feels real because they're being super awkward.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, all right, bye.
Yeah.
Oh, gotta get your bag. Bye. And then they're just like both devastated. Then Amy comes back and is like, hey, fuck you. You want to get pancakes?
Mm-hmm.
And that just feels like a very real friendship moment. So I like that. However, I think that my actual favorite scene is when they ambush the pizza guy.
Oh, that's a good one.
When they like tie their hair up like masks, which I think is so funny and cool because that's that just feels real.
Yeah.
Like something they do. And I just love him being like, you guys just got into a car with
a stranger.
A strange middle-aged man.
Do you have a weapon?
Know. Do you have a weapon? Because I do. He holds a gun and he's like...
We're so close to the highway. I could, take you to a cabin and hog tie you and just like feed you in a little saucer with milk and like videotape it for a couple days. And they're like, what the
They're like, what? And he's like, you got to be more careful of this. And then they're like, can you tell us the address where these pizza... Well, she's like, tell us the address where the pizza are. And he's like, that doesn't make you sound older or more intimidating. Like,
And then she like leans over to like punch it into Google Maps or something, and he's like, "Don't show me your passcode. That's like the thing with passcodes."
yeah. And he's just like so nice, and they're like, "Can you drive us there?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, that's fine." And they're like, "Really?" He's like, "No, get out!" Like you didn't learn anything. And it's not like they get out of the car and it's like, "Man, we could have been like killed or kidnapped." I didn't even think about that. They just get out and they're like, "Woo, we got the address."
Yeah.
Anyway, I just really like that scene. That actor is in a lot of things as like creepy weird guy, which I feel bad for him for, but he just does it so well. And then obviously that comes back in the end when it turns out that he is the Valley Strangler and is actually a murderer.
That's Mike O'Brien. Also, did you realize that's Maya Rudolph doing the voice at the beginning?
Oh, really?
Where she's like, "You're powerful." Yeah, apparently.
I like that. That's
Interesting.
fun. But yeah, I do kind of like the idea that he's actually a murderer. Like, I'm assuming he's like a serial killer. Like, he's not just like a guy who killed one person. But like, I like the idea that this guy is like a serial killer.
Hiding in plain sight.
But then that like these two young girls get into his car and he's like, "I can't
He's
do
like,
anything
"That's
to
too
them."
easy.
Like, they need to know better.
Yeah.
Anyway, I really like
It's about the thrill of the chase when you're serial murdering people.
Yeah.
You don't just want it to fall in your lap. You need some sort of accomplishment. I think I like it when they show up at the party at the end. I think that's really fun when everyone's like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, I really like that. Which I was just about to say, one of my favorite quotes of the movie is when they show up and the one guy goes, "Hey, El Presidente and the protest lady." Just like, that sounds like a band.
And then he's like walking with her and he's like, "I'm glad you showed up. I'm pretty scared of you, but like it's cool. Like I'll
Yeah.
love, but like you're kind of scary to me."
Yeah. It like genuinely feels like everyone's like, "Man, I didn't expect these two to be here, but like
Pretty sick.
pretty sick," and I'm like glad they are. Anyway, I like that a lot. And also, like, since we're talking about the party real quick, like the flirting in this movie is like way better than like flirting
Than
I see
most
in almost
movies.
any movie.
Yeah.
Like other movies feel very like, I don't know, scripted, I
Yeah.
guess. Like this feels very like awkward, but like
Real.
but like in a good way, not like, because like there's some level
It's
of
like
awkwardness
natural.
that's endearing, like when Molly and Nick are flirting, and it's like, "Oh, how tall are you?" And it's like, "Oh, why don't you check?" And there's like, "Well, you're probably like 5'4". It's like, it's not like actually funny things to say, but you're like trying to be cheeky. I'm saying this like I've flirted with a million people.
You're flirting with me right now.
Oh yeah, baby.
As you readjust in your chair.
Yeah. But I don't know. It just feels a lot more real than in most movies. I actually believe it. And I like, especially in the Molly and Nick flirting scene, there's a lot of eye acting where it's like everything. I mean, honestly, like everything Beanie Feldstein does in this movie, like a lot of it's in her eyes. She's just really good at that. Anyway, that was just something I wanted to add because usually I just like hate flirting in movies because it's done so bad.
I think what contributed to that was Olivia Wilde told the actors, because they're younger, she's not really of their generation, if there was dialogue that felt unnatural or like your character wouldn't say it, then you can change it to be more natural.
Yeah.
So I think that probably happened more than you'd think.
Yeah.
Where they're just kind of like, you probably wouldn't say like, "Oh, you're looking really pretty today." He'd probably like say something a little more sly, like,
well, especially based on who their characters are, they're probably gonna like it's like Molly literally says to Amy, it's like, "We're being mean to each other, but it's working."
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's kind of what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I also read that she allowed people to change some lines of dialogue, and I think that's so smart, especially when it's something that getting the era and
You have
like
to get
the generation right.
Yeah.
It's like very important.
Because if it was all written out, there'd be a lot more like lits. There'd be a lot more like fams, like shit like that.
There's only one lit, and it's when Jared picks them up, And he says things like abso-fruitly and like all these weird like little lines.
Yeah.
But he says like, hey, get in the SS lit. The SS lit as fuck. This is like the car's the SS lit as fuck. Anyway, get it. You guys want to get in the shotgun? Nope. Both in the back. Okay. Got good airflow back there.
Yeah.
It's just like talks too much. Honestly, he might be one of my favorite characters.
Skylar Gisondo, I think his name.
Just like his character of like desperately seeking approval through like his wealth, because he's like, that's what my parents did and that's what their parents did, and he just like doesn't really know. And it's not until like his final moments, not that he died, but like his final moments in high school where he's like, man, none of these people know me, none of these people like me, nothing ever worked. The only person that like actually likes me is Gigi, because she's very loyal and actually knows who I am. And that's when he's like, I want to build airplanes and then make a lot of money and then
Do
write
musicals. Yeah.
And Molly's like, what the fuck? That's like actually interesting. Unlike him being like, yo, check out my DJ booth and my astronaut helmet.
Hey, everyone got their graduation present? Look, there's little me here, and then there's another one there,
And then little baby me.
here, and he's saying happy graduation.
And everyone's like, no one's wearing that, not even ironically. And he's like, well, you don't know
I
that.
disagree.
Yeah. He's just like, I really like him, especially like his development near the end where he kind like, because he's kind of treated like he's pathetic the whole time. And then he just comes in right at the right moment when Molly, and Amy as well, but he goes up to Molly when Molly's also feeling like pretty pathetic at this moment. And he's able to come in and be like, hey man, we all have these moments.
Damn, profound.
Yeah.
Adam Driver.
We're doing Adam Driver already? Oh wait,
We're an
there's
hour
one
and 8
scene-
minutes in, my
There's
man.
one scene I forgot. Last one.
Sure,
This
yeah.
is actually my favorite scene.
Okay.
Because I forgot about it. It's when they play the porn in the car.
Oh, that's a great scene.
Because
Yeah.
they're like talking about how Amy might get some action that night. She's like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then they're like, let's watch some porn. They put headphones in.
There's a debate because of the moral issues of porn.
Yeah,
for
but then
Amy.
it's like, it's for education.
It's a documentary.
Yeah, look at it as a documentary. So they start watching it. They have their phone plugged in because it needs to charge. And then Jason Sudeikis, because they got in their principal's lift, which his lift is crazy. With all the lights, there's no way he can see.
Yeah, it's
like
wild.
honking at people and cursing at them. The silence used in that scene is great. Just like so uncomfortable. Anyway. Sorry, what were you saying?
I don't know. Sorry, keep going. I'm sorry.
No, you can say your thing.
No, go.
You can say your thing.
Nope.
Oh.
Nope. I just like the sound effects when it goes through the car speakers.
Yeah.
It's very...
Well, yeah, because he sees them and is like, oh, yeah, you can play your music if you want. And it's literally like... Oh, yeah. Oh, fuck. Fuck me. Did we really just do that?
I think so.
All right. But yeah, I don't know. It's just the first time I saw this movie, I laughed harder than I think I have at any movie just because it was so unexpected, so loud, and like pretty long. Like it's like 10 seconds long, which sounds short, but that's a long time to listen to slapping sounds, and flapping sounds, and crapping sounds. But yeah, I don't know. So I had to at least mention that scene because I think that's my favorite scene. So now we can get into Adam Driver and stuff if you want. Adam Driver, he'd make probably a pretty good Jason Sudeikis character.
Yeah, I think so.
He'd be a good principal.
I don't know if there's really another role for him. Maybe like the dad.
I was gonna say maybe. Oh, we gotta mention Will Forte as the dad. What did he say? Because they're like, oh yeah, we're actually gonna go out instead of stay in today.
Yeah.
And they're like,
we made all these things.
We made all these things. And he's like listing all these little food items, but as like graduation
themed things?
names. Like, what was the one?
It was like salami, I'm so happy to be your dad or something.
Oh yeah, salami being your dad is the greatest honor of my life.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's not a name for a food. That's not a name for a dish.
Yeah. And then he names a bunch of others. I don't remember them. That was just the best one. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping around. Jason Sudeikis' line after the porn slapping in the car is he goes, "Was that Cardi B?" It's like,
I like that.
that is probably something that...
Also, his novel, a female detective who's pregnant, and every time she gets close to a clue, her baby, kicks.
And he's
but
like,
I'm not really sure what to do after the baby's born.
yeah, but and I was like, you'd like this, female detective.
Yeah, Amy, huh?
And pregnant also, and they're like, whoa,
Yeah,
cool.
that's a good premise.
Yeah. I also liked when they were in Jared's car, them being like, "Hey, you took Spanish, right?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah." And then they start talking in Mandarin, so that he doesn't understand them. I think that's cool. I don't know. I feel like they play a lot with just the knowledge that these two are very smart and have studied everything and are very, like, well-versed. They, like, use that to their advantage in a lot of scenes, and I really like that a lot. Anyway, sorry.
I think the music's also really good. But you think Adam Driver is principal?
Adam Driver's principal or the Valley Strangler. I think he'd be really good as the pizza guy as well.
Oh, yeah. I think so, too.
Those are the two, I think.
Now it's that time of the episode.
All right, let's get to that time. Let me just breeze through my notes and just see if there was anything else. George sang Barcelona.
Oh, yeah. When he's like... When I was studying in Barcelona, when I lived in Barcelona.
Yeah, and it's just like...
Everyone's like, oh, fucking...
Molly correcting the bathroom graffiti grammar. It's just like very...
Who is?
Yeah. Yeah. Molly being like... Oh, yeah, because Amy, like, reveals a secret that she has a stuffed panda that she, like... uses to masturbate and the eye fell off and everything. And Molly's like, "I didn't know this about you, so I'm gonna share something about myself as well. I masturbated with an electric toothbrush and got a horrible UTI." And Amy's like, "You've told me this hundreds of times." I just really, really like that.
Interesting choice by you there.
Yeah.
To nibble.
What's the interesting choice?
To nibble in the mic.
To go.
Yeah, you're nibbling. Biting your little fingernails off.
Okay, also, I do want to quickly say, Amy's sex scene, it's not really a sex scene, but like make-out scene with the one girl in the bathroom. This is a little thing, but it's also a big thing. Love that consent is so clearly established. Where she's like, "Hey, do you want to stop? Like, are we going too fast?" It's like, "No, I'm okay." And it's like, "Are you okay?" "Yes." And then they go.
You love that because you don't do that with me.
Well, I don't do it with you because, like, usually I can tell that you want it in your eyes. That I don't like that joke. We're gonna scratch that one from the record. I didn't like that one.
Yeah, that's cool.
I just think not a lot of movies do that, and it didn't take anything away. If anything, it kind of like made it more, like it made me more invested because it felt like, they actually maybe don't care about each other on like...
Especially since it starts by like Amy kissing her, whereas like a lot of teen sex comedy, when someone's having sex is like, oh, they're both like going at each other.
Yeah. Like it felt like someone initiated... and then they checked in with each other, and then they continued, which I think doesn't happen all the time, but I really like. All right. Last thing, and then we get into rankings, and that is that when Jared is about to go up and start Molly's speech, and he's talking to the principal, and the principal's like, "That man, she kicks it off. Like, I don't know what we do. She kicks it off."
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, I'm going to like do it in place of Molly till she gets here. She told me to tell you that stuff like this happens in the Senate all the time."
And then he's like, "Yeah, okay."
And then it's like, "I don't care. Go."
Yeah. And he's like, "Oh yeah, that Molly did say that." Yeah.
Anyway, so now we can get to rankings. Sorry, I just really like this movie. I didn't want to miss anything that I wanted to say. Let's get to the rankings. So this is my movie, so you get to say where you'd put it, and then we'll argue.
I think it's top 4, and it's not 1, 2, 3, or 4. Or wait, no, I think it's top 4, and it's not 1, 2, or 3.
You think it's 4th?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell. I'm going to kill myself.
Again, brother. That's
Full disclosure.
I think that's the 3rd episode this month.
That's
You've
true.
Sort of professed your love for killing yourself.
And in the first episode of this month, I said I'm going to stop making those jokes.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. A lot of development and growth coming from my end here.
Character change.
But, so, full disclosure. This is one of my favorite movies. So that's...
Okay.
So that's why I chose it. I also know that you really like this movie, which is why I chose it. I almost chose Superbad because I don't know which of these two movies you like better, but, like, you did, like, fall asleep crying to Superbad one
I
night.
didn't
while
cry.
We were together. Well, crying of laughter is what I mean.
Oh, yeah. You fell asleep crying in your little bed like a baby.
Yeah. So, like, I debated choosing Superbad because I thought that might have a better chance. But then I was like, I'm going to be a bit more true to myself, choose the one I think is better.
Speak your truth.
And also because I also just know you like this movie, so I felt it was a decent one. So I love this movie. I think it should be number 1.
I know that's why you picked it.
Which is why I picked it to be number 1. Not because it's my favorite, but I just also think that, like, I mean, everything we talked about, I don't know what it really does wrong. And I don't necessarily think that it being a comedy or it being like a high school movie should really, like, bring it down in rankings just because it's not like a high art movie necessarily. Because really, I'm arguing against Waves on this one.
Yeah.
And I do love Waves.
Which is also a high school movie.
Which is also high, in a way. I mean, like, I guess, but that's not what it's about.
Yeah. It's about high school.
Yeah, okay.
It's about kids
I
that
guess.
age.
Yeah, but, like, when I think Waves, I'm not like, man, what a high school movie, you know?
Because it transcends.
Well, because, like, there aren't really many scenes that even take place at school in that movie.
I guess it depends what you consider, like, the wrestling stuff to be.
Yeah, but, like, most of that is done
at none of there's, like, a scene at the start and a scene at the end that take place at the school.
Yeah, but the whole concept of this movie is around them graduating high school. Anyway, that's this debate, and I'm not joking even a little bit, does not matter.
Okay.
But, like, you know what I mean. Like, this is a high school comedy.
Yeah.
I feel like some people would be like, that can't be a number 1 pick. Because it's not like I said, it's not some high art movie. However, I think that it should be number 1.
So your case is you don't think it shouldn't be number 1 because it's a high school comedy?
Well, my case for it being number 1 is that it doesn't do anything wrong. Really.
Okay.
I guess I should be arguing against Waves then, right?
I don't know. I think you can argue for the merits of it without, like, arguing it against something else.
Like, because I don't really want to shit on Waves because I think Waves is good. However, like, Waves, I think, upon first watch was, like, something really special and something really good. And I think it has a lot of themes, a lot of scenes that, like, feel very visceral and real. I really like how the first half feels very panicked and the second half is a lot more tranquil and, like, thought-provoking. But I do also feel like it's not really a movie that, like, it's not that it feels like a chore to get through, because it certainly doesn't feel like a chore to get through, but it feels like there's not really, like, good times to be had in Waves. Like, there's not a lot of, like, when I'm watching Waves, I'm watching Waves for the emotional experience.
Sure.
Rather than, but like, I'm not getting, like, enjoyment out of it.
Okay.
Or not, I don't really know how to say this because that makes it sound like I don't enjoy watching Waves. It's more that, like, it's meant to draw specific emotions from you.
Sure.
And those emotions aren't really fun. And that's not a bad thing. But like I think Booksmart draws not all the same, but similar emotions from me, but then also has lightheartedness throughout with like kind of a perfect balance. Yeah.
I think the thing that puts it below those top 3, which is
Waves, Big Lebowski, Black Klansman.
Those all have some sort of bigger thing that I can identify that they're talking about, at least right now. Because movies change over time, and as you watch them later in life or like later in sort of cultural cycle, they'll have different perspectives. But what I can pull from those right now is a little more like profound and interesting, whereas this is a very great version of the type of movie it is. It's like an A-tier high school comedy. And there's like, it's in there with like the Superbads and all that stuff.
I'd argue it's S tier.
I guess I didn't really have an S on my scale because that's not really how the alphabet goes.
No, it's not how the alphabet goes, but it is how grades go.
No, it's how Super Smash Bro ranks go.
No.
But all these fucking nerds and their S tiers.
Whatever, just continue. Goodness.
I think it's like top tier high school comedy. But it like I just don't feel something much deeper from it, and I don't get that from Superbad either.
See, 2 questions. Well, actually, one's a statement, one's a question. One, I do feel like I get something deeper from this movie,
Which is
like the dynamic of friendship and like having to sacrifice for those that you care about, and like the main 2 characters like throughout the movie are constantly doing things for the other person, and like it all bubbles up at the end in an argument, but I feel like the argument is kind of like not necessarily to show the flaws in their relationship, but like more to show how well they can work through it because they care about each other so much. And I feel like even though, maybe Big Lebowski, Black Klansman, Waves, like, have more profound messages, I don't think they necessarily do those messages better than this movie does its messages.
I think they do, because I'm not really sure how Molly changes in this movie, which is the thing I was kind of talking about earlier with, like, she doesn't have to sacrifice anything. She's still kind of the same person at the end. She's sad when her friend's leaving, but like she's basically the same person at the end of the movie that she is at the start.
Like the car ride with her and Annabelle, AAA, at like near the end, that scene and then her giving her speech are like the main 2 things that point to her character change, which is like before she genuinely looked down on all of these people because she thought that she was better. She literally listened to guided meditation saying that everybody sucks ass, basically.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the movie, not only does she see everybody, but she also like understands and respects each of them for who they are, regardless of whether they're vastly different from her.
Yeah.
And like I think that's a big change. She's like a lot kinder and less abrasive at the end. And I think she just like has a better understanding of like you were saying, the balance of life, not just like doing all school versus or like all whatever.
And then does Amy, like, what's Amy's change? She's more confident, I guess, at the end?
I think so. I think hers is mostly a confidence thing. But it's a thing of, like, Molly is so overconfident at the beginning, and Amy is, like, has none. And then at the end, they're both kind of balanced out, or at least headed towards the more balanced direction. Because, like, they don't have to have they're teenagers. They're in high school. They're not going to have a full, like, lifetime change in personality in one day. Like that would also be unrealistic. I think it's more about like they had a very like important moment in their friendship, which was them being there for each other, fighting, but still being there for each other, and like both losing something as well. And like it's more about them now being headed in the right direction than it is about them having some profound change, I think.
Okay.
That's
Interesting.
my perspective.
Yeah. I don't know. I just
have this weird I just have this weird feeling like because it's a high school movie, like a high school comedy that isn't like that you couldn't discuss the themes and meanings and takeaways on for like in an essay paper that's like 500 pages long, like you probably could with Waves, Big Lebowski, or Black Klansman. Like that, I don't think that makes it worse of a movie than those movies, is what I'm saying.
I guess. I mean, like, is this... I guess this is a bit of a list of objective... Our goal is to be objective, I guess.
Not
100%.
Like,
yeah.
Our opinions are inserted, but, like, we're also trying to compromise, be honest. It's a balance.
It's not because it's a high school comedy. Like, that... I don't think it's a good movie or not number one.
I know.
But I think it's the fact that, like... It's a high school comedy and it just doesn't have that emotional depth, and that's not a horrible thing about it.
Sure,
but but
I feel like this is like, sorry, I'm sorry for interrupting, but like you were like, it's not that it's a high school comedy, it's that it's like a high school comedy.
Okay,
and so, but like, and I would argue it does have emotional depth. Sorry, I'm not going to interrupt this time.
So, like,
I'm very passionate.
Black Klansman's a fun movie, right? Big Lebowski's a fun movie. Waves, at points, has some interesting parts that could maybe be misconstrued as fun. It's not a very... It's sort of a fun... Like, there's fun parts. The back half's fun.
It's visually fun in some parts, yeah.
So it's not like we're not putting comedies up at the top, and it's not like I'm saying this is a middle-of-the-pack movie.
I know.
I just think if you compare it to Waves, the way that Waves, what should I say? Like, shows this a similar generation of person. They came out in the same year, so like the same generation of teenager, in a different light. It feels a little more. We were talking how like a lot of things in the movie feel like true and honest. But it's a little more like real, I guess, in quotes. Like there's some aggressive things that happen, but it feels more like real life. Like there's a dance scene. There's a scene in this where they're Barbies and stuff. And I don't think that makes it a worse movie. But I think if it's like, what is the number one movie that I think is the best movie that I would be like, I really want someone to watch this movie. Like, this is a number one important movie.
Sure.
Not just to me, but, like, on this list. And I had one chance. I'd be like, watch Waves. It'll give you a little more about the world than Booksmart will. Because it communicates the generation that it's talking about, I think, in a more, like, gross and less glamorized way, because we were talking about how there's not a lot of bullying in the movie, and we went to a very tame high school. That's not the experience for everyone. So it just like it does gloss over some things about like life, which makes it a really fun movie, but like it's the balance between like having something that's real and like showing the real life of people and like the real emotions and like anxieties that teenagers and like people of our generation feel, where this is like the opposite of that.
You know what I think it is, actually? Waves kind of feels like real life now. like just how life feels now, just like visually and just how everyone acts. It just feels like how life feels now.
Yeah.
Whereas like Booksmart feels just as real, but it feels like life does in my memory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Booksmart's a beautiful memory, whereas Waves is like you're fucking like right now today.
Let's stay on this. I think that's why we differ on like which is better, because I much prefer like
Living in the past.
no, I
Not
much
dealing with the
prefer
issues of
watching
today.
something that feels like a beautiful memory than watching something that's like, oh, as you said, oh, fucking real and fucking real.
Yeah.
But like you prefer that.
To an extent, yeah.
Yeah. So like I think that's the oopsie daisy.
And I think like in just the movies that each of us have picked, I think that's like evident as well, cuz like Harry Potter being your first pick for the podcast.
Well, because we wanted to pick movies that like kind of symbolized art. Yeah.
Yeah, but it like expresses that that's something that you're like more into, whereas like I picked John Wick which is like not that. It's like two polar opposites. So like
I feel like West Side Story was almost more of a like get your vibe. Actually, I think John Wick, West Side Story is like perfect for like your vibe.
There we go.
Movies. What was my second pick? Hardcore Henry. Yikes. Continue.
So I'm not saying that I just think it's like fourth.
I don't think it's fourth.
What do you think it is?
Well,
and you
obviously
can't say
I think
number
it's one. But you're gonna make me compromise.
I think that's probably how we end this. We're an
And
hour
you're
and a
gonna
half
make me kill
in.
myself.
At this
stop
point,
saying
it's
it.
your own thing, and I'm not really invested, or I don't care.
Thanks. Wait, can you like explicitly say what you don't care about?
I'm not too interested in like going to your funeral if you commit suicide.
So I'd be willing to like not
Like tell your mom not to even invite me.
Well, that it's interesting to assume you'd be invited in general, but
I guess you don't. Do you invite people to funerals?
yeah, I think usually you put out like an open invitation to like the visitation, like put an open invitation to like your community, but then like specific people are invited to the funeral. Anyway,
Yeah, I just don't want to like
that's fair. Like
let
I kind
you
of
win.
understand. So here's the thing. What did you say?
I don't want to let you win.
And I win if I'm dead and you're at my funeral?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's the goal. So here, let's get into the rankings now. We've kind of been in them. I do not feel comfortable putting it at 4.
Okay.
It just doesn't feel, that just doesn't feel right to me. I like this movie better than every movie on this list.
I know you've said multiple times it's your favorite movie.
Yeah, well, one of them, certainly. Maybe it's like just above Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, which would make you say, then why not put it right above Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone at number 4? But here's the thing, I don't want to do that.
I know you don't.
Because I like it better than BlacKkKlansman, Big Lebowski, and Waves.
Uh-huh.
So, here's what I propose. Number 2.
Above Lebowski?
Above Lebowski and BlacKkKlansman, below Waves.
I'm okay with that.
Which I don't feel great about, because I like this movie a lot better than Waves, but I do think they are on similar levels as far as, like, good movie. It's just different what the movies give you.
One of them's the poison and one of them's the antidote, baby.
It is actually kind of like one is read a very, like, grueling, real, like, story on Reddit or something.
One of them's dark side,
and
one of
then
them's
you go
light
to
side.
r/I bleach after, where and you see a cute picture of a dog.
One's Jedi, one's Sith.
Sure.
Not Waves. Waves is Jedi, yeah.
Well, actually, I guess that's another thing. Waves makes me sad. It doesn't, like, remedy that. It just kind of, like, makes me sit with it.
Really?
What do you mean?
The second half doesn't make you feel better?
It makes me feel better than the first half did, but it doesn't remedy the first half making me feel sad. And the second half is also sad.
I think you're not jaded
some ways.
enough.
I'm not what?
You're not jaded enough.
Maybe. I'm just an innocent little boy. But then, like, Booksmart makes me feel sad also, but then it also remedies it. Anyway.
Never.
Never what?
Never feel sad.
Okay.
Don't feel regret either.
This is a horrible message. I disagree. All right. I'm not super happy
Bottle
with
those
it,
emotions, push them down.
but this is about compromise. So, Booksmart. I almost got there. Do you pinky promise me you didn't just make it below waves because you didn't want me to win?
What do you mean win? What do I get?
I don't know. Nothing.
I
But
need to get something.
All right, Booksmart at number 2, below waves, above the Big Lebowski. You know what? I'm happy.
Yeah, I knew you'd be.
But I just want you to know
you're
that one of
railroading
these
me.
days, waves will be toppled. It's not a goal of
You're
mine.
railroading me.
But, like, it will. It will
Try
at some
it.
point. Because, like, in the reshuffle episode, you made a big deal about how Harry Potter was number 1 for, like, 5 weeks. And, okay, it was longer than 5 weeks. It was, like, 10 weeks. But Waves has been up there longer, baby. So why don't I kill you? Anyway.
You could put Citizen Kane on the slate, and that's going below waves.
Disagree. I mean, I haven't seen Citizen.
You could put Casablanca on the slate.
Is
and
Waves
that's-
your favorite movie?
No.
Okay.
But I think it's the only one that we would put at the top of a list of my favorite movies. I don't think you would put Boogie Nights at the top of a
Question.
list.
Because this is the issue with number 1. I should have talked about this in the reshuffle episode. I'll talk about it now quickly. Like, one could, and this is kind of what happened with Harry Potter, which you kind of talked about. Like, Booksmart, I would like to put above Waves, obviously, but like things that might go underweight. Like, you can argue, you have 24 spots to argue like where Booksmart should go relative to the number 1 spot, but I can only argue for number 1. I can't really argue above that, right? Like, I can't argue in the other direction like you can. So, like, compromise is putting it in between number 1 and wherever you want to put it. But, like, it's not like because of we haven't reviewed movies that will go above or between these movies yet. I can only argue number 1. So it's if one of us, like, let's say you brought a movie to the table and you wanted it to be number 1. Let's say Booksmart was number 1 today, just for sake of argument, and you wanted something to go above it. Like, I would argue for it to go lower, but like, we'd probably compromise because you can only argue for it to be number 1. We can't compromise the other way. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I just think you realized what a list is.
Yeah, I just mean, like, if you really love Waves and I want to put something above Waves, it's going to be very hard to put
That's
something
the whole
above.
point of this.
I know.
Is the movie has to be like amazing, amazing, amazing.
But
to
I'm
be
saying
put above.
it's like only going to topple Waves if we both agree it should be number 1.
Yeah.
Which I think is like maybe never going to happen.
I think that will happen.
Okay, we'll see.
It's happened twice.
Yeah, but like it's going to happen less and less as we go.
You don't know that because you don't know the future and you're just being negative
Well,
right
no,
now.
'cause there's going to be more spots. Obviously, it's not like there's going to be less and less number 1s as there's more things introduced. We're going to end it now.
You're sort of worrying about something you don't need to worry about.
I'm
right
just
now.
like, I'm just worried that I'm going to end this episode and like see that Booksmart is number 2 and not number 1.
And then what are you going to do?
Let me think about it. Come on, Adam. Think about what you've learned. Think about your growth. Think about your journey. I'd probably kill myself. Fuck!
Bye-bye.
I feel like we should at least say, next week, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. We'll see if Calder can topple Waves.
It's on the
his own movie.
CBC streaming service for free.
Yeah, I think I saw it on CTV.
Sorry, CTV.
Yeah, a lot of ads, though. It's fine. It was fine.
I didn't get any ads.
You didn't get
I just
any
got
ads.
weird fade outs.
I also got weird fade outs. I think is that not just how the movie's edited?
I don't think so.
Okay, we'll talk about that next episode. Next episode is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. We'll catch you next time. See if that's the new number 1, and we'll see you next time. Bye. And I'll end it somewhere in there.
You gonna kill yourself?
Yeah, Booksmart should be number 1.